Kellon is a full-time high-ticket e-commerce business owner of a business that has done, well, in the eight figures in revenue all time, tens and tens of millions worth of revenue. And he's been at the game for 8 years, which is more than most people. And he was part of why I actually got into this business model to start with. So it's pretty cool. Thanks for being on.
Jayden, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And it's good to catch up. We haven't talked too much in a while. So excited for our conversation.
For sure. So yeah, if it's okay, I know it probably feels like a long time ago, but can we start with you being where a lot of people who are listening to this probably are now? So in a normal 9 to 5 job or whatever hours it was for you and looking for something else?
Sure. When I got so I went to college, got just an undergraduate degree in business administration. So in the US, that doesn't really do much for you. You usually have to get furthering education. I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but um, when I got out of school, a lot of the entry level jobs were just weren't that appealing. They didn't pay very well, and at the time, I
Hmm.
just was a server at a restaurant. So I continued to do that for a couple years after I graduated, and then um, I had a guy come in that worked for a franchise of another restaurant, and he wanted me to be a manager, and I'd never had no desire to do that, and he came back a few times. Long story short, I took the job
Hmm.
and I moved up quickly. I was hired as an assistant manager, became a general manager in like 9 months. Traveled for that business, like we opened stores in different states, and I went along for that journey, and I was with that company for 8 years, and it was more of like it was like a all you can eat pizza buffet. So it was really cheap. Like when I was hired at the time, the buffet was $3.99, all you can eat.
Jeez.
Now I think it's like $10. It's still cheap, but the clientele was tough to deal with, and I wanted out of there. So I applied to another restaurant that was slightly better. Worked there for 3 years, and it still was similar, but it was just a little bit better. That's like the background of that. So how I got into this is I was miserable. Like I worked in the restaurant industry for 11 years. I hated it the entire time, and I thought I was pigeonholed in this industry. I didn't think I could do anything else. So one day, I listened to this podcast. I downloaded this app. It's called TuneIn Radio. I don't know if it's even an app anymore, but I just typed in like motivational speaking, and I found this podcast, and I listened to it. And the guy had a following. He's had the podcast for a couple, like 20 or 30 years. And because he has a following, he makes money off of that and has affiliate offers. And he had this affiliate offer for this company called DSD, or Drop Ship Domination. They teach you how to drop ship on eBay. Um, so the entry level fee was like $20, and you could upgrade to different levels. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. I paid for $20, and they teach you how to like find products, list them on eBay, and you're using other retailers as your suppliers, which I don't think you could do that anymore. And
So you're just like finding arbitrage, right? So you're like selling something that maybe Walmart or whatever sells, and then you can buy it off them directly and ship it to the customer.
that's exactly right. So like Dick's Sporting Goods, Target, Walmart, Kohl's, a lot of that stuff. Um, so it's kind of like a
Okay.
gray area. It was like you're allowed to do it back then, but I think a lot of people started doing it, and
Hmm.
I don't think you can do it anymore. But basically, they just kind of like they teach you how to like find products. Like you would go on eBay and look at like their sold items, and if you have Google Chrome, you can right click and do like search Google for this image, and then it'll list websites from that eBay listing that had that product, that same image, and maybe you'd find it on Walmart, and it's a lot cheaper. So then that would kind of determine like, okay, we can see in that seller's history they sold that. I could see how much they bought it for at Walmart, so let's list it. So that's really like the arbitrage that you're doing. So when I was working my job, I drop shipped on eBay for about a year. I saved all of my money. I never touched it. And and then I discovered drop shipping on Amazon. And Amazon has way more customers than eBay. And I took another course that taught you how to outsource. So I got my first virtual assistant, and I drop shipped on Amazon literally for 3 months, and it just exploded. And I think by the third month, I was probably making like double what I was making in a month at my restaurant job. So I was like, I'm going to quit my job. And I've never done anything like that. And it was like, I'm usually conservative and making these kind of decisions. But I'd been thinking about it for a while. And I remember I went to work one day, and I worked like 12 to close. So I came in at noon, and our lunch rushes were really busy, and all these employees called out. They weren't set up for lunch. It was complete chaos. So within 20 minutes, I just went in the bathroom and I texted my wife, and I just said, "Hey, I'm quitting." And she was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm quitting." So I gave my notice after the lunch rush, and then the regional manager called the store, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry to hear you go." And at that point, when he called, I was like, "Oh, there's no turning back now." And as the
This is
day went
real.
on, it was just more and more stuff was just messed up, and I was like, I made the right decision. So left my job. I drop shipped on Amazon full time for about probably 3 years and maybe 4 years. And
Did you enjoy it, or were you hyper stressed? Because obviously, like the connotations with that, I know it doesn't really exist as a business model anymore, and you can argue whether it is or isn't like a business. But I think of that as like lots of unhappy customers, lots of stress, lots of volume. Was it like that, or was it okay?
yeah, it was stressful, but like it was. I don't really call it a business. It's just a way to make money. If I'm honest with you, it's not a business. But the thing that was stressful about it, really not the customers, that aspect, because no one's going to call you. They'll send you a message on
Mm,
Amazon. Everything's through messaging. The thing that was stressful is Amazon has metrics you have to meet, and like your late shipment rate can be only be a certain percentage, and if it exceeded that, then they could suspend your account, or sometimes they held my money a few times, and I had credit cards
mhm.
to pay off. So that, yeah, that was stressful. Um, but as far as like, I got to a point, I ended up hiring that VA. I hired her husband too, so it was just two of them. So they would list products, they place the orders, they dealt with customer service. We had templates built out. They just copy and paste answers to them, and um, it was just became too it became just, like, stressful to where I wanted to get out, but I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I went to this conference. I don't know if you're familiar with Eric Thomas. He's like a personal development guy. But anyway, it was like went to this Eric Thomas conference, and there was a guy sitting in front of me. This is before it began, and we were just talking, and he was an ecom too, but
Mhm.
I think he sold wine coolers, and he drop shipped too. And I had not heard of high ticket drop shipping. And talking to him, I was like, wow, I really like the idea of selling one product and making the same amount of money as selling 70 widgets on Amazon. So he had a course. I took his course, and that's where it started. I've taken like a lot of different courses, but that's where it started with him. And I still drop shipped on Amazon for probably another year or two. And then it just I just didn't really need to do it anymore. I think they pretty much shut down my account at a certain point, but I didn't care. I was just trying to milk it for as long as I could. And
Fair enough.
yeah, it's a lot better having your own because you own the customers, right? And
Yeah, you kind of feel like you went legit, right? Like suddenly you're going direct from suppliers you have actual relationships with. So, when you're selling that thing, it's like this is the customer experience the customer's expecting. There's no like unhappy customer who maybe realizes they could have got it cheaper elsewhere or whatever, and you don't have to do that volume. But also, I can see where you kind of like develop some of the skills that I admire in you as a high ticket dropshipping business owner now, like some of those things that you had to do in terms of making sure that your customer service team were really well set up with the right training, the right support, the right templates, processes like that. I think that must have helped a lot when you went when you went legit, so to speak.
yeah, I mean, I think it helped with just being familiar with like the virtual assistant world and like that culture working with like Filipinos, because I
Mhm.
never really hired one before, and I hired a few different ones when I worked on Amazon. But yeah, I would say that definitely helped with the transition of doing it for this business too.
For sure. Okay. So you start high ticket dropshipping. You start essentially, if anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's essentially you're now a retailer for these brands. You partner with them officially and you're selling through your own Shopify store rather than on Amazon or eBay or anything like that. And then how did you find the learning curve there? Did you find like because of the chops you had from all of this stuff over here, it was quite easy or was it steep?
It's really different. Like I would say it's not the same. Like I built my like I bootstrapped like everyone does, right? I built
Mhm.
my Shopify store. I'm not tech savvy. I never had done anything like that. I just learned on my own. I think at the time Shopify had, I don't, they might still have it, but they had like this service where you could pay a monthly fee where you have like developers on hand. And um, you would just kind of send a message, maybe like record a video and tell them what you wanted to do. So I did that for like a few months and they helped with like building things out. Um, but yeah, I used to like, list all the products. I did all the emails, did the ads, did all the customer service, and wrote all the articles, myself. Did everything right, and then eventually, you get to a point where it's like I can't. If I want to grow this thing, I can't do all this. What
Hmm.
really hit me was I get a lot of phone calls in my niche, and it comes to your phone, which I'm sure some people listening to this, if they're in that stage, they're getting the calls to your phone. And there's a certain point where you can't do that anymore. And I was probably, I was getting like 20 calls a day. And I would be like out to eat, with my wife, and I would, get up from the table and take the call and go into like the hallway of the restaurant and say they were like, yeah, I want to place an order for this. And I would just say, yeah, our system's down right now, but it should be back up in about an hour and I'll give you a call back. So there's like stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. So I put that off for a long time too, because like, I think this thought goes through a lot of people's heads, especially in the beginning, is you don't think anyone can do the job as well as you. And you have to get over that because people can do that. No one's really going to do it as well as you if you own it because it's yours and you care about it more than anyone else. But
Hmm.
I heard this one time, if they're 80% of you, that's awesome. If they can do 80% of what you can do, that's awesome. I ended up hiring a US based call center. It's pretty expensive. But that's what I felt I needed at the time. And I worked with them for like 4 years. So they helped fill that void, did a lot of training with them. Um, but after 4 years, I realized that so it was a call center. They weren't my employees,
Hmm.
and they would answer for other businesses. So maybe I would listen to a call, and I would want them to maybe call that person back for whatever reason, and they would call them back, but it might be several hours because they're answering calls for other people, and
Sure.
there was limitations with that. So I brought it in house. That was actually last year and glad I made that decision. I should have done it a long time ago. I can actually think of probably 3 or 4 instances of situations where I should have done something and then I finally did it. And I'm glad I did it. And I'm like, I should have done that a long time ago. So I could think of like 3 or 4 things that in my journey where I've done that. So now I'm kind of like, if you think of something, then it crosses your mind at least 2 or 3 times, you should just do it. Otherwise,
I think
like
that's good
you're
advice.
fooling yourself. So I try to live
Yeah,
by
and
that now.
for sure, and like you alluded to, often the reason you haven't done that thing you think you should do is because there's some sort of mental blocker in the way, right? For you, it was no one can do this as well as me, and you're spot on. I've been there as well. Like I guess a bit different for me because with my store, I was still working a full-time job. Obviously, where you'd done your kind of Amazon selling, you had built up that those funds to be able to do this. Whereas I was like answering the phone alongside my job, and it kind of gets worse before it gets better. So your business gets busy, but you're still in your job, and now you're working two jobs essentially, and it's crazy. And then you get enough money to leave your job, and it gets a little bit better, and then it only really gets better when you start to be able to hand some of that work over, and then you can properly have your freedom. And like you say, probably no one will do it as well as you, but that's a you at your best. And I don't know, there's the opportunity if you're answering the phone 20, 30 times a day, there's an opportunity to get pretty fried there, especially when you're running the business as well. So
Sure.
okay, cool. And
I,
so that was one of the big sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think also it's a transition and there's a certain point in business, like, especially when you first start this, you will have to bootstrap like everyone does and
Mm,
you do everything yourself. And you're a business operator. You're not a business owner. To make that jump and to mentally realize that took me a while to understand that. And I'm not saying I'm a full business owner, but I'm pretty hands off with a lot of things. But um, that's why you see like these really wealthy people that own multiple businesses because they are truly business owners and people run their
mhm.
businesses for them. So you should think about that. That's what you want to get to eventually. But maybe that's a little more advanced, but I think that's something that should be in your crosshairs. You should think about that. That's where you want to get to eventually.
100%. Because, yeah, like you say, a lot of us, we dive into that operator space because we have to, because we don't have the money to hire a team, etc. And that's kind of why I think this is one of the very best starter business models because you can do it alongside a job or with little cash, like whatever you need in certain circumstances. But like you say, people get stuck, right? They get to a stage where they're like, this is awesome. The business makes, whatever, 6 figures in profit. That's now my income and I'll just work in the business. And then they don't realize they've created a different kind of job. And it's like, now it's time to level up again and still take that income and hopefully more, but without needing to be tethered to it in quite the same way. But I agree, it's kind of what makes it fun though, right? There's always levels. You've been doing this however many years, and there's still levels for you.
That's right. New level or the new levels, new devils. That's what they say.
It'd be boring otherwise. Okay, cool. So customer service was a big thing for you, like getting that right, getting that nailed. What were the other like big levers that you look back and think, wow, I did that and it had a huge impact?
um, well, customer service. Besides customer service, I would say I hired someone else to do like our SEO. Um,
Nice.
I
Okay.
used to, like I said before, I wrote everything. I would try to do the outreach to get backlinks, and I hired someone else. And SEO is more challenging nowadays with AI.
Hmm.
We used to be very good with SEO, and now it's been pretty tough. But I think we're doing some things that are going to help now. So that's one thing. I hired someone to do our emails. He's done our emails for about 5 years, and that's another thing. And he's an expert with Klaviyo. So he understands like definitions and how to segment people within those flows and things like that, which you can figure out on your own. But it's just like, is this a good use of my time to
Hmm.
spend like 40 hours in a week trying to figure out how to set up these flows, or just hire someone to do it for you in like half a day? So that was like another thing. And then I have an in-house person for like coding stuff. So if I ever have ideas of things that I want to change on the website, I'm still not tech savvy, but I just record a Loom video and I'll just say, hey, can you move this over here? Or maybe I'll see a website and I like the way that they have something set up, and I'll show the video and I say, hey, I like how they have this. Can you do this? And he can usually do what I ask him to do. But the biggest lever of all for me personally is we really started growing our YouTube channel in the last really started focusing on the last three or 4 years, and that has made a huge difference. A lot of people search on YouTube, and people don't think about that. A lot of courses and stuff don't teach you that. They don't talk about it, but YouTube is the second biggest search engine online behind Google, and Google owns YouTube. Now, people might say ChatGPT is up there. I don't know what the stats are of that, but a lot of people do their research on YouTube. Like, I mean, I think we all do that. Like, you need to fix something in your house. I need to like
Hmm.
fix a faucet. Like, you're going to go to YouTube. So that has made a big difference, and that has been a learning curve. I've hired like a professional videographer, and it was really high quality videos, and it looks great, but it doesn't really, I don't think it's that important. I think the more important thing is being helpful and just being authentic, and people like that more. So I kind of realized that you don't need to hire those people and spend all that money. So but the thing that's time consuming is editing. I have some people on my team that edit the videos, but it also, you got to be comfortable on camera. You have to know the products to talk about them. So that probably takes some time, but it's a little bit of prep work. You got to like maybe learn about the product before you film it. Maybe write down some key specs about it. But now it's a lot easier. I mean, I've been doing it for so long, so now I kind of have a good idea of what to say. But I would say that's been the biggest lever for my business.
That was something you recommended to me that really helped me in my last business. You said to me, just go to your whatever best 5 selling products, make a trip to the supplier. It's easier for me when I run the business in the UK because it's not as geographically big, right? So I went, I did it in maybe like a 2-day thing. I was like, right, I'm just going to block out those 2 days. I'm going to go. And you said to me, just buy like a gimbal so you can hold the camera and walk around the products, go around, film kind of everything. I just made a list, like in a notebook. Okay, I want to film this feature, this feature, this feature. I just walked around, did it all. And then you said to me, record the voiceover afterwards because it'll be easier. You won't have to keep stop, start, stop, start. So I just did the filming, did all of that, came home, and then I just watched it on screen and I talked into a microphone as like my previous self had walked around it. And some of that content did so well for us, not just like for people searching, it brought customers to the site, but also for the team when someone reached out asking about one of our best sellers. Like, a lot of people would ideally like to see some of these things in person. There's still some traditional buyers that are like, oh, I prefer to get to a showroom, but, maybe this video walk around does the job. And it was a huge thing for us in customer service, in sales. And then also, like you say, if someone comes to your site and they read a product page or they read a blog, the ability for them to forget your site it's pretty high. Someone spends time, a minute with you on YouTube, being walked around a product, the chances of them remembering your store and your brand are so much higher. Like the relationship you've built with them there. So I agree. I think that's a massive opportunity.
Sure. And I think also too, like the suppliers don't always provide all the information you about the products, right? And you're not going to know that unless you see it. So you can point out features and things about it that no one else talks about online, and you're able to talk about it because you have it right in front of you. And then also it's just, it helps with like if someone asks a question, like when people call in, maybe if we have a video of the product, they'll call in, they'll ask something very specific about it. And you can just kind of fast forward through the video to that point and you can confidently answer that question because we showed that in the video. So that it helps with like a lot of queries as well when people call.
That's awesome. Do you, out of interest, do you happen to know what the number is of like total dollars you've made selling products online? Must be hard to work it out through all your Amazon, eBay,
Oh,
and
combined
your
with
businesses.
Amazon, eBay, I would say, it's probably over 30 million, I would say total. And
I
the
was
entire
because
time
you
I've done
said
this.
about not being tech savvy, and I was like, it's funny, isn't it? Like guy who says he's not tech savvy, and I believe you, right? Like I know that you're just a guy who just finds a way, right? It's not your natural way to be, but if you need something changed on your site or you need to work something out, you'll hire the right person, get the right person's time, watch the right video, whatever. But it's kind of crazy, a guy who's made $30 million in revenue selling products online. No, not tech savvy at all.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I've said this forever, is to be successful in any business or really anything, it's all mindset. Like you don't have to know how to write products. You don't need to know SEO. You don't really even need to be an expert at ads. But if you are that hungry, and you have the right mindset where like nothing is going to stop you, you will figure it out. Like I will talk to someone, I'll watch a video, hire someone, whatever you have to do. If you kind of have that mentality, like you can do, not to sound like cliche, but you can almost do anything that you want. It's
I
all
completely
mindset.
agree.
And I think a lot of people most people don't get that. It's like over 99% of people don't get that, but that's really what it boils down to.
99% of people who watch this will think that you are some kind of freak, right? In a good way. They'll think this guy has exceptional talent to have done what you've achieved. And you would probably say back to them, like, I am just a person who just consistently showed up and did the work. And like, I think a lot of people think that, whatever, people who have success in business, who are business owners, make, sums of money that people would get very excited about are like elite athletes. They have this like next level of talent that so few people possess. And I completely disagree. I think like building a 7-figure business is kind of like running a marathon. Like almost anyone can do it if they're just willing to just show up. And for some people, it will be easier. Some people will be harder. But like if you just show up and put the reps in every day, you will get there.
I agree, and I also think it's not that like I think a lot of people push this hustle culture now, and it's not about working all day long, like from the moment you wake up till you go to bed. And you may have days like that, but there are days where you don't feel like doing it, and that's okay if you don't feel like it. But do something, like send that one email, like just try to stay consistent and just improve like a little bit every day, 1% a day, and all that. As long as you do something every day, it all compounds, and it might seem like not that important in the moment of doing it. But if you are consistent with that and you look at yourself that same day next year, you'll be surprised at what you have achieved because you never stopped. So I like to always talk about that too, because I think people think you have to put in so much work, and I'm not saying you don't, but we're human. Like, things happen. You might not want to do it. You're not feeling it. You don't feel well, or you have stuff you got to do, but just try to improve a little bit every day. It makes a difference.
Definitely. On that, if you were to go back and talk to that version of yourself who's like working in the restaurant industry, hates it, thinks he's pigeonholed, and maybe has a dream, like would love to do something like this, but thinks it's not necessarily possible. What are the few things that have happened over the last, whatever, let's say 5 years of running these businesses that you would go back and say, like almost show past Kellon and be like, look at the couple of things that we've done that are really cool. Maybe it's like a trip or something that you thought, wow, like a pinch yourself moment sort of thing.
You're saying like, what would I tell myself that had that mentality or
Yeah, and even just like, what would you show that person to be like? Look where we get to, like, and that might not be like it's extravagant thing. It might just be that you wanted to take a couple of weeks off because you just felt really burnt out, and you just made a decision and just literally just took the time off. But like, what were the few things where you just sort of took a moment, and were like, wow, the fact that I'm able to do this is really cool.
yeah. Like one thing that comes to mind with you saying that is, with this business, when you spend money using credit card rewards. Like you get to travel and take flights and they don't cost you anything. Like I haven't paid for a flight or like a hotel or Airbnb in a long time, like years. So like that's something that's kind of crazy. And some people like my family or my friends think that, gosh, you have so much money like to do all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't, none of this stuff costs me money. It's all free. I think that's one of the amazing hacks with this business. Like I love, and actually I'm not that great at it. I know there's people that really know how to utilize the points better than I do. So I need to learn how to do that better. But that's like one thing that comes to mind for me when you say that. Um, and then I
It's
guess,
one thing I really missed when I sold my business. I was like, "Oh, where have my points gone?" Because yeah, you're right. You get used to like, I'll just whenever I want to fly, I'll just do it. And if I want to sit in the comfy seats or whatever, I'll just use my American Express points, or whatever. Because let's say your business doing a couple million in revenue, you've probably got, I don't know, over a million certainly of cost of products, which pretty much generally you're putting all of that on a credit card and you're getting a point every time. Like, yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry, you're going to say the next one.
yeah. I guess the other thing was just, I think I've told you this before, but during COVID, was like we did very well, and like a lot of online businesses because everyone is stuck at home and they're online. There was some in the U.S. There was government stimulus. I don't know if there was in the U.K., but people got money and people were just spending money. And at that time, I was selling on Amazon. It was like the last year I was selling on Amazon too, and we saved a lot of money. And my wife quit her job at that time, and she works with me now. But it gave us the ability to we made some investments and we moved. Like now we live in Florida, and it helped with putting a nice down payment on our house in Florida. So crazy to think of that. I was able to buy my car. Like I bought a brand new car back then, in cash. Like I don't have a car payment. So like now I would have never thought that I would ever be able to do something like that. So those are things that are like kind of pinch me moments for sure.
For sure. That's amazing. And yeah, I guess last thing, like if someone was listening to this saying like, I really want to make that jump, like I resonate with hating my job and wanting to do something, like what would you sort of say to them? What would you, other than what we've already said about consistency and showing up, is there like something you'd really want to impress upon them?
Well, I would say the biggest lever you can pull probably is paying for mentorship. You know, a lot of people don't want to do it because when you talk to like someone who is really good at it and they're a mentor and they tell you the price, you're like, oh gosh, I could never do that. But you don't realize that you're paying for their years of experience and it's condensed into like maybe a month, couple months. And they've been doing it for however long, 5 years. And I think that makes a big difference. And you'll just make a big return on your investment by doing that. So I think that's the biggest lever. Not everyone's able to do that right, like out the gate. A lot of people take a course to start. So I would just say with the course, I don't know. Do you have a course in your community or you don't?
We've got modules. Yeah, we've got basically like a classroom. So yeah, it's not like a traditional course, but yeah, we've got the guidance and the support there for sure.
Yeah, I think sometimes with like courses, and I don't know about with the modules you have, but it can be overwhelming if you have a lot of them and you think like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. Just go back to like 1% a day. Just focus on that one video module and just check off that task. Like you don't have to complete it all and just stay consistent. That's like where you start at the beginning, but then once you get going, you start making a little bit of money. The next thing is to pay for mentorship, and that's when you can really catapult things.
For sure. Well, you've kind of set me up. That wasn't planned. But yeah, I mean, we've got the 1% ecom school, which is, like you say, we try and do it based on where people are at. So if people they need to start, they need the information on how to set up their Shopify, choose a niche. They've got that option here. If people are trying to go from 10K a month to 50 or whatever, they've got the strategies here. And we try and segment it out. And then we've also got the community aspect as well, where there's people like myself who have kind of been through this a few years, and then also other people who are at the same stage. And then we've also got me and my two partners as well, who have got a lot of kind of ecom chops or SEO chops, etc., to help people. So that's, if you're interested, there's a link in the first comment below. But more importantly, Kellon, thank you so much for talking to me, and also thank you for doing the podcast. I originally heard you on because you were one of the few people that made me take the leap, and I'm pretty happy that I got into this game. So and yeah, no, very grateful to know you and have you as a friend and someone who tells me what to do every now and then, because it's been very valuable.
Likewise, Jayden, you're a good guy, and I like to see that you're doing this community and you're helping people. And that was another thing I guess I'll say is just I think having a community like that is super important. And just having, if you can have a little mastermind, people you can meet with that are in the same position. That helps a lot too. You feed off each other a lot.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks very much. Really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thanks so much.